Today I wanted to make a Doom Eternal diorama for one of my friends. I decided to make the Doom Slayer kicking the Marauder because it felt violent enough for a Doom scene. Actually, it was not my first idea, but it was the only one that seemed doable in the short amount of time I had. And God have I overestimated my ability to craft fast. Anyway, I'm starting with the Marauder because I will need it to properly position the Slayer. The boots were made by putting a lump of clay in place before adding more and more pre-cut armor plates, and I made sure to cut 2 of each so that I did not struggle to make the 2 boots look the same. Those boots are probably my favorite part of the Marauder because of how much detail I was able to put in. It was also interesting to make since it's quite different from the more organic models I usually do. I had made only once before something so straight and mechanical. And with the boots done, it's time to tackle the trousers. Once the basic form is finished, I can faithfully flesh the thinner features. So I delineated the different parts with this wood shaper and then textured some of them. And I had to include this banana hammock and the trusty leather belt. Now for the armor plates, I glued together a few conveniently shaped sheets of clay that have just the right shape because I cut them moments ago. I added a bit of surface texture to an otherwise bland surface. I can set it in place with a bit of bacon bond in an effort to make the painting process 1,000 times harder and more annoying. Anyway, this demon needs a demon back, and for once I think I placed the muscles decently enough. And using my good friend alcohol, I can smooth the imperfections. Then I could make those veins he has on his chest as well as unsmooth the surface I just smoothed. And once done, we're on to the face. It was the first time I made the skull and I think I got a somewhat decent result. And what's even better is that I only had to make the upper half because the mouth will be hidden by the mask he wears. Also at this point the lamp I used broke because of heat, so I ordered some new ones. With the new lighting setup, the only thing left to do was to make the armor, for which I put sheets of clay everywhere on the model. And with the Marauder finished, it was time to start working on the Slayer, beginning with the boots. I really like how small the Slayer's feet are. Contrary to the Marauder, the Slayer will be textured mostly by carving the various armor plates rather than pre-cutting sheets of clay and gluing them on. And I had to pack the pieces with plenty of precise pattern because the polished rounded plates would put every plain patch on display. For the legs, I wanted to carve the texture just like on the boots, but it was too annoying, so I decided to cut and glue a sheet of clay. I built the belt's little bubbles by blending bits and blob of clay together. For his back, I once more carved a bit of texture as well as add a few pieces of armor here and there. And not quite last and not quite least, his cannon contraption was made by covering a twisted piece of wire in clay. Also, I made the crucible off camera and forgot to record the helmet. But anyway, it's time for a base time of the video. I broke out the hot wire table and cut a squarish piece of XPS foam. I then cut a few pieces of foam wearing all the security equipments I could ever need, or maybe not. Now with the dressing I can get rid of this thin utility knife and take a larger one. I can now continue cutting foam without blood bothering me. Or maybe not. Anyway, it's now painting time. I began with the Slayer, whose boots got an initial brown coat with a few different shades here and there. The armor got several coats of olive green. The various not green parts were painted brown then yellow ochre. I then gave everything a black wash and dabbed away the excess. Once dried, I stippled a bit of the original color on top with a beauty blender. And finally, I applied a dark metallic paint on some of the edges so as to add a bit of wear and tear. You cannot stay clean when you go in hell fighting demons. For the Marauder, I began with that same initial brown coat with a few different shades here and there. The exposed skin was poorly primed white, then washed with a very thin purple wash so as to add a bit of evil color in the otherwise too flat white skin. Then I stippled some more white over the skin and a bit of grey on the raised parts so as to add a bit of variation. The armor got a million different coats of green because I could not get the shade I wanted. Once done, I stippled a bit of green so as to add a bit of two-dimensional texture. I then tied everything together with a heavy, slightly brown black wash. The veins got a bit of grey so that they stand out more. And the horns got a base warm grey with a few layers of warmer and warmer greys dry brushed on top. And finally, the eyes were painted red, but they'll be repainted off camera. The base got a base coat of black Mod Podge so as to prime and seal the foam. Then I stippled lighter and lighter greys on top and dry brushed everything with an almost pure white. once dry, I applied the burnt umber oil wash that was too thin, so I had to apply another heavier one after. I also bought a few cotton balls so as to make flames. I painted them yellow, then orange, then red, then a tiny bit of black with the airbrush. And with that, I think we're all set to admire this small craft.